Welcome to the inaugural episode of Cover 2 Crew. To my right, I have AJ, and to the bottom is Michael Liga. Michael, I'll start with you. What did you think of this Chargers-Texans game?
Oh man, dude, going into it, I count out CJ Stroud. I was the Justin Fields lover, back in the day. CJ Stroud, man, what a show! What a way for the Texans to come back and win. Justin Herbert definitely disappointed me. It's safe to say that Jim Harbaugh might not own him anymore. Um, Going back to his Michigan days back at Ohio State. Um, but it's time to have that Justin Herbert conversation. He is a glorified Dak Prescott. Yes, I said it. CJ Stroud is not good. I said it again. You cannot throw 4 picks in a playoff game. You have 3 all seasons. You can't come in throwing 4 interceptions and expect to win. Chargers defense balled out, man. Like they played well. But when you're throwing pick sixes across the Derwin James, come on, AJ, what do you have to say? What do you have to say?
You just said Chargers defense played very well. They gave up 32. Oh, not 32 because they had a pick. They had a
Yeah,
fumble. They
pick
had a
six,
return.
fumble. Like you're in there, like you're in the on the opposite side of the field the entire time. Like, yeah, bro, you put me back there with scoring points. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay, whoa.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
AJ, what did you think?
I think that Justin Herbert is a little overrated. His 2 playoff games, 3 biggest games of his career. This past
Raiders game too, right?
4 picks. Yeah, Raiders game, get into the playoffs, and 27-0 against Jacksonville. I mean, are the lights too bright?
The
I
There's
don't
a
lights are
know.
too
trend.
bright.
There's a trend.
He's got all the measurables and everything. You know, he's got a nice. He throws a pretty ball. He's 6'6". He's mobile,
Don't
but
forget the Giants throw. The Giants throw in
between
SoFi where he's
between
rolling right. The Giants throw 60 yard
between the
bomb.
between the ears, I don't know. And put my hand up mid game. I said when it was 6-0 before that crazy broken coverage. I said Harbaugh owns Stroud because before this game he did 2-0 at Michigan versus Stroud. I still think he kind of owns him because Ohio State, Michigan versus 4 o'clock wildcard game. I think Ohio State, Michigan's bigger than that. But Texans defense balled out, 4 picks, couldn't run on him a whole lot. And yeah, I mean, it's great to have a 4 o'clock Saturday game, but it's kind of just there. I do love some more primetime games, Sunday afternoon games. Saturday afternoon is kind of just nice to have.
Unfortunate. Like, let's trash the Chargers all we want, but I will say, Lad McConkey have a day. Great day from Lad McConkey. He showed he can be a true wide receiver one down there in Los Angeles. 80 something yard touchdown on that third and like forever, third and 28, third and 29, whatever it was. Great play by him to get through the tackles. He had was it the most receiving yards ever by a rookie in a playoff game? I think he broke that record.
Probably
Broke Puka's record. Yeah,
197.
Yeah,
So
crazy
huge game
performance.
from McConkey. Huge game from
You
Definitely.
should have
McConkey.
seen the rest of the receivers.
You should
All
have.
those
Well,
drops.
there was nothing to see.
That
Man, okay,
Quentin Johnston fourth down where he doesn't even get past
yep,
the sticks on that whip route.
and he
That's like,
drops it.
yeah, that's fundamentals. You have to get your depth on that route. You have to get past that first down marker, and he doesn't get it, and then he doesn't even make the catch. Like it's the story of Quentin Johnston. But yeah, that was a tough
You
game for
compare him to
Herbert.
McConkey. Compare him to McConkey. The measurables, yeah, Johnston might have the measurables. And McConkey, I don't know, he's different.
Pitches
It's
with his
that
chest.
dog. He's a real lunch pail guy, coach's son. I mean, he's got that dog in him. He's got to
Uh,
grind every rep. He's not given athleticism just by being born. So
Tactician.
yeah,
Tactician.
he's got a high
uh,
football IQ. It's just gonna be one of those things. And he's looked really good this season. It was tough to see him put the team on his back and still not be able to overcome that Texans surge in the third quarter, fourth quarter. But yeah, I guess kicking off to Steelers Ravens. This was kind of big rivalry game. People said, "Oh, Mike Tomlin owns the Ravens. He's 9-1 in the last 10. Can he keep that up? It's playoff game. Hey, they're going to be fighting tight. This didn't turn out that way. AJ, what do you say?
I think that Lamar answered a little bit about how going back to his past couple games against the Steelers, he hasn't done well. I think he's 2-8, or he might be 2-8 in his last 10 against Steelers. I definitely think that Ravens are a wagon. I had them. I think I got them at plus 600 early in the season after the Raiders game. Good value there. I also think that it's time for the Steelers to tank. They're always in QB hell. They after Ben, they've kind of just had a below average QB play, and now you kind of see that in the playoffs. I think it's been 8 or 9 years since the Steelers have won a playoff game, which is crazy because in my mind, they're always there. They're in the mix. I'd love to always be in the mix. We're like the anti-Steelers. But
To add to that context, me and AJ, we're Bears fans. So
yeah, we have it hard.
If that really says much about how we've had football around for the past few years now. So
yeah, Russ might be cooked. I don't know. Denver fan Cooper might have some thoughts on Russ. I don't know.
Yeah, it was not a good fit in Denver. Sean Payton just came out today and said it was miserable. He called it brutal in his end of season conference. He said this year was much more pleasant. So he's definitely like burying Russ. And as you can see, the Texans or the Steelers, they had some run. He was 4-0, 4-2, and then all of a sudden the wagon fell out. And so he loses 5-0. He loses 5 games in a row to make the playoffs. Like that's not a recipe for success. Teams got tape on him, and then yeah, it's the story of like Fields. Go ahead, Michael.
And this is to my point. Big Bears fan, Justin Fields supporter for 3 years, and I will say I thought him leading Matt Eberflus in our dysfunctional organization would be best for both sides. We would bring in a guy like Caleb. Let's not get off the topic. Going back to the Steelers. So Justin Fields in himself, what was he? 4-1 with Pittsburgh starting? Something along those lines. He had a bad game in Indianapolis.
4-2, yeah.
4-2, but he rushed for 2 touchdowns. He passed well, hit Pickens on a deep route. I remember that play. Bro, he brought the team together. He's a more quiet dude. Russ is much more well-spoken, but the team had his back. The team had Justin Fields' back the first few weeks. And while I understand, yeah, you have Russ, big career in Seattle. He made a living off of those deep passes and this ability to scramble. But is he the same quarterback? And I think Denver last year proved that he has regressed some. But the Steelers took a chance, veteran minimum, no cap issues with him. But here's the question. What happens next year? Are we thinking, do they re-sign Russ, try to run it back with Pickens? And if you guys did see Pickens' interview after the game, he wasn't very happy. Do they extend Justin Fields, who's coming off his expiring contract, or do they draft a quarterback? What do they do?
I think they're picking too late to draft a quarterback. I think they're going to sign Darnold.
Darnold's a good fit.
Darnold and Arthur Smith.
Can Darnold perform in the big games?
I don't think Mike Tomlin needs him to. He just wants to go 9-8.
Playoffs, and that's all he's got to do.
Yeah,
all he's
exactly.
Got to do is go 9-8. Sam Darnold will get you 9-8.
Mm-hmm. That's all Mike Tomlin wants. So when are we going to have the
conversation of firing him? Mike Tomlin.
That's a tough one.
I don't know. I feel like he'd have to leave.
Mm-hmm. You either let him walk.
Look at Andy Reid. Look at Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Great coach.
Yeah, but Philly's different. Philly will run anyone out of town.
That is facts.
How many games has Sirianni won in the last 3 years, and they want him gone? They'll probably win the NFC Championship, and they'll still want him gone.
That is true.
Yeah.
They kicked out Peterson after his Super Bowl loss pretty quickly. I'll say that too.
Doug Peterson's not that good of a coach. Aside from the MVP season, he has won 10 games 0 times. Doug Peterson's overrated. That's another conversation. He's overrated.
We could go on and on about these little. We find these little like excerpts have to go out. Yeah.
Yeah. You got any final thoughts, Michael? Before we
I
wrap
think the Steelers. I think Justin Fields is a project still. I think he's raw. I think he has the physical ability of any. He has the best physical ability of any quarterback in the league. If I'm being honest, big arm, fast.
No touch.
Can he throw a
Nothing
slant?
over the middle.
Can he throw it in the middle of the field? That is the question. I love the guy. Like
Can't
I
make
wish
his
him the
layup.
best, but he needs to make his layups. And if he can prove that and put in some work and get in some coaching, we'll have to see. But at this point, I don't know if he's a franchise guy. I don't know if he's a franchise guy.
So interesting in this game.
But look at Darnold. Look at Darnold. Look at the pickup he had. And don't get me wrong.
That's true. That's true.
Darnold was a better passer coming out of college. We understand that. Fields had crazy weapons. Olave. He had Garrett Wilson. JSN his freshman year. Like we get that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting. All this conversation was about how the Steelers fumbled, but nothing about the Ravens like just being a powerhouse. Like Derrick Henry, Lamar.
I'll give Lamar his flowers.
I got him at plus 600.
He did.
I'm feeling real good about him.
Real
good about that.
I'll add on to that. I mean, I criticized Lamar up into the playoffs. Like I didn't think he could win, but he doesn't have to play the quarterback position like how Tom Brady plays it or how Aaron Rodgers plays it. As long as he's winning the games, he might get criticized, but why does that matter? He's getting the W on the board. What else matters? So let the haters talk. Because if you're good, you're going to have haters.
Ravens need to lean into the run game. Lean into Derrick Henry. You need to do that this week. They did that week 4. They did that week 4 against Buffalo. If they can't stop Henry, but the thing is, sometimes their play calling, they go away from it. Why am I seeing Justice Hill in for so many snaps? He's a great pass catcher, but your bread and butter is running the football. Especially if Zay Flowers is out. That takes a big weapon away from him.
Is he out yet?
I don't know. I just know he's injured.
Speaking of AJ, I think while you were gone, me and Cooper found out the Ravens, it's some complicated situation going on. The Ravens re-signed Deontay Johnson in order to get a comp pick next year, is what I'm hearing. I'm not exactly sure. Schefter just tweeted out the details. We can get to that at another time. But very interesting to see them taking advantage of him.
That's huge.
Dang.
Big.
I don't know if he'll contribute anything as he's just got cut from the Texans. He's previously been on the Ravens.
But I don't know if he's back on. I think he's it's like a weird situation. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly the details.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just finish up this Ravens thought is like if they get in the power eye, get in the pistol, and they run that read option with Lamar and Henry, that can't be stopped because the read key goes in to the running back, Lamar pulls that and he's gone with his speed. Read key stays out, you just give it, and you've got 3 guys on the Lamar side in that one fixture that went around Twitter all the time. Is just like 3 Steelers outside just covering Lamar, and he just gives it to Derrick Henry and he takes it up for a touchdown. Like that's just unstoppable. And like you said, Michael, he doesn't have to go out there and throw for 350 yards. He can throw for $150, 200, and just have Derrick Henry have another $150 on the ground. Like that's how they win on offense. They can put up 30, 35 points just doing that. And I'm surprised this defense, Kyle Hamilton in the secondary, he's shored up that secondary that was just getting torched in the early regular season. So that has changed. I'm excited to see what they do against the Bills, but yeah, the narratives throughout the season from that defense, they've really flipped the script. But yeah.
Yeah, I think they lost McDonald this last offseason. He was a whiz, man, last year. And
incredible.
You kind of saw that at the beginning of the year. But I think Hamilton, I was reading that he plays more. At the beginning of the season, he was playing more around the line of scrimmage or where linebackers are, and they moved him back. I think it was after the first Cincinnati game where Joe Burrow and Chase went crazy on him. They moved him back, and since that game, their secondary's played a lot better. So that gives us kind of a preview of what big game of the week next week, or not next week, Monday.
Yeah.
And then then to move on to who they're going to play, the Bills. Cooper, how do you think about that? What do you think about that Broncos Bills game?
As a Broncos fan, that was a tough one. I I was a little bit delusional thinking we had a chance, and then they sunk the nail in the coffin. As soon as Bo Nix scored that first touchdown with like 2 minutes in the game, I was like, oh, we have a chance, we can do it. And then just getting shut out the rest of the game. Like offense played well for probably the first 10 minutes of the game. Couldn't establish a rhythm. We ended up with like 20 minutes of time of possession, which you just can't win a football game doing that. Um, it was
Watch
really
20
over.
minutes.
Yeah, it was really over when James Cook had that run for like 9 yards, and then his offensive line pushed him for another like 6 or 7, and I was just like, yeah, that's the backbreaker right there, because defense couldn't get a stop. They were good in the red zone. If they could score, if they could get to the 20-yard line, and the Broncos defense was keeping them out, but couldn't do that the whole game. Obviously, the missed field goal before half was just a real backbreaker. If we go in 10-10 at
Doink,
the half,
doink.
yeah, it could be a different story, but
I know.
Yeah.
I know me and AJ talked. We talked smack. We called Bo Nix a senior citizen, 10-year college,
He's old.
kind of thing. But I'll give him his props for the entirety of the year and in this playoff game. I mean, he looks good, looks very good. So
It's good.
I'm
Good for a young quarterback.
semi-young.
bro,
Yeah,
Jane
Kinda
Daniels
young
is the same
quarterback.
age.
Young team.
Yeah, third
Good
youngest
for a
team in the
young
league.
team. I thought not doubling down on going for it on fourth down, that was kind of a killer. Confusing to
Yeah.
me.
Hmm.
Get him on the fake punt, and then you just punt 4 or 5 plays later.
Yeah, absolutely
So
brutal
I just thought
sequence.
I think you got to lean in. Being such a big underdog, you got to lean into being that aggressive, and then
Yeah,
you flip flop between the two. Like Washington, we can get to that later, but Washington
Yeah, we'll get
just
that
kept
later.
going for it on fourth down. But I digress.
I mean, a good first quarter, very engaging. But I'll say after that, it just felt like a team clearly had an advantage over the other. So
yeah. It's
Yeah,
one
Ben
thing
don't
that
break
yeah,
defense first half, and then second half it kind of unraveled a little.
Yeah, it's one thing that the Broncos have found out this year going against the Baltimores, the Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills. Like, there is a serious gap between where this team is and where it wants to be competing with those teams, because Baltimore blew us out of the water. Um, the Chiefs game, the scoreboard looked close. Bo Nix outplayed Mahomes, but that defense was stifling in the second half.
are
We
we
didn't.
talking about the bye week Chiefs or the first
No,
time
no,
Chiefs?
the real Chiefs
Chiefs
game.
game.
I'm not gonna count Week
Okay,
18.
okay, okay, okay.
Uh,
All right.
the Chiefs defense, I should have said, the Chiefs defense didn't let us score a single point in the second half of that game. We scored two touchdowns early, didn't score the rest of the game. So that really is this like the separation. Like even though like the Chiefs offense didn't play as well as it should have, that defense separates itself from the pack. And as a Broncos fan, I don't like praising the Chiefs, but it we could say, oh, it's 14-16. We were in that game. If we just kick a field
Nolan knows
goal,
what he's doing.
if we just kick a field goal in the second half, anything, we win the game. So that's what sucks with that. But just those three powerhouse teams, and I think the one thing is like the Bengals game was like, hey, we're close, but we're not there yet, and it's we found evidence with like lack of talent at linebacker. Riley Moss got picked on, need to get some depth at corner, and safety has been a real issue this whole season. And the Bills game really showed how safety was a need, because they couldn't come up in the run and they were terrible in the pass. PJ Locke, he's been on a team for a long time, but he's got to go. Unfortunately, um, this the secondary besides like Surtain and Brandon Jones has been the last probably 7 games, and so that was tough. And then our defensive line just completely fell through. We only got 2 sacks on Allen. That was kind of like VJ's thing, is like, hey, I'm gonna send 5, 6 at
Hey,
you, and yeah.
those 2 sacks on Allen were big though, because after the first sack, they mentioned what he hadn't been sacked at home, or I don't know what the stat was in like X amount of games. So just
Hmm.
getting even the one was impressive.
Yeah,
I
And I know,
also
offense.
I also
I know.
noticed. Oh, go ahead.
No, you got it. I'll go ahead.
No, I just noticed like Bills line, I know they're one of the better ones in the league. I know that like Deion Dawkins and their other tackle just look massive compared to the edge rushers. That's not saying those edge rushers are bad, but like if you're going off strength, I just feel like it'd be like you can't bull rush them. You know, you get around them with speed, but hard to bull rush.
And
Yeah.
The Bills O line is
not
just good O line.
incredible. And that's what I'm about to get to. The Bills are a good football team. Like the Broncos, you know, they're not up to par with the Chiefs. Yeah, like I understand that, or whatever be the Ravens. But man, the Broncos are a good team. Not the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos too. But sorry, the Bills are a good team. And I think that Josh Allen needs to beat Lamar this next game if he wants to really show his dominance over the AFC. But again,
both QBs need to win, or else it's just meaningless all day.
The
on
narrative
Monday.
will be if
Just gonna get
Lamar
clout.
loses, he's a running back. If Josh Allen loses, he's not an MVP.
Can't win the
candidate.
big one, yeah.
Yeah.
Win the big one.
Yeah, it's definitely eye-opening as a Broncos fan, just seeing like how close we are, but how so far away we are. And yeah, I gotta hand it to the Bills. Like they made adjustments. They started like once they found out they could run it, they would bring in a fullback and another offensive lineman and just say, "Hey, I'm gonna get 9 yards on this run play." And it was absolutely demoralizing as a fan. I couldn't imagine being a player. Just like you know what they're gonna do and you can't stop it. Sertan, towards the end on that Curtis Samuel touchdown, there's a miscommunication with PJ Locke, the safety, who's got to go, and then they didn't cover their routes right. Sertan notices it, but he's too late on the crosser by Curtis Samuel, and then when Samuel makes a move, Sertan just gives up, and I'm like, that's tough because like you hate to see that out of your player, but I mean you're down 24 points with like 6 minutes left to go. It's just brutal. This whole season was an A plus. Like as a Broncos fan, we found out we have a franchise quarterback. Defense looks good. We got pieces, but it's just tough seeing how far we are away from being like a contender in this AFC with Lamar, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes.
100%.
Yeah, definitely stepping stone year.
Yeah.
All right, we have to cut short. I had to go to class. Unlike these two working gentlemen right here, I am still in college. I'm in my last semester. And also, a side note, that's my roommate's flag. I am not from Argentina, and I put a little Bears merch up there. I see. From America.
Oh, really? Not Romania?
I am from Romania. Well, my parents are from Romania. But yeah. Born and raised here. What about you, AJ? Where are you from?
I grew up in suburbs of Chicago.
And you're full American, or?
My mom's Filipino. My grandparents came over like the 60s or 70s. Dad is like 10th generation white guy. I think German and something in there.
Okay. Cooper?
I don't really know.
I'm not doxing myself. Hey guys, before we forget, comment for the algorithm, FTA this video, leave a like, subscribe. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Big plug guy. I love it. And yeah, I put a little Bears merch up there. And I see AJ's rocking the Caleb Williams shirt. Huge. So
Caleb.
Yeah, I got back from class. We hopped back on the podcast. And I think we're ready to dive into Packers and Eagles and what happened there. And to continue off, you guys will get to know us more as we continue these episodes. So just a little bit about us right there. Mr. No Docs, Mr. Big Culture, and Mr. Argentina right here. So, AJ, Packers, Eagles. Did the Bears break them?
You know, some people think that. The Detroit Lions broke the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota's lost 4 times this season. Their losses are Detroit, next week, Rams. Detroit, Rams. The Bears. Some might say they went 1-1 against the Packers. Game of inches. They're about that much of a fingertip from being 2-0. Now,
Also, that much from being 0-2 too, though. Playing devil's
yeah,
advocate.
but we don't need to talk about that. I think the Bears may have broken the Packers because they go on this 11-game win streak. It's like, oh, this 2 free wins a year, confidence riding high. We're gonna go into the playoffs, beat up on the Bears, and what happened? Caleb Williams, rookie QB, drives them down for the second time this season against the Packers in Lambeau. Cairo Santos surprisingly has the leg to kick that field goal, and then they come out against the Eagles, hostile environment. I definitely wouldn't want to play there. As you saw on some social circles, Eagles fans, maybe not the greatest of people. Those Green Bay Packer fans. I don't know if I can repeat that on airwaves, but look up Eagles-Packers interaction. I'm sure you'll find it. That guy's out of a job. I want to keep mine. But yeah, they come out. First play of the game, they fumbled a kick return.
That was
and
big.
They pretty much beat themselves up all game. I mean, they're down 9 in the fourth quarter. They throw it on fourth down. The wide receiver doesn't get his feet down. Like, come on, you can't be. This isn't playing. You're not playing the Bears. You're playing the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round. This is the 2 seed. No, you can't play with your food. They come out there. The Eagles really should have won 29-10. But Saquon went down on that run. I don't know if he had the under or something, but the game was close. The game was a lot closer.
Definitely have the anytime touchdown.
Game was a lot closer. And then I'm over here seeing Packers fans calling for LaFleur's job, and like he should be on the hot seat. Like, these guys do not know how to lose. It is crazy. Matt LaFleur has been there 6 years. He has had 3 13-win seasons, a little sandwich of an 8-9 and 9-8 in between there, and then 11-6 this past year. You're calling for the guy's job. He averages almost 11 wins a season, and you have guys calling for his job. He's a great coach. He has a limited quarterback. I was reading on Twitter today. Do the Packers have their version of Mitch Trubisky? They have very comparable stats from Mitch's 2018 to 2019, and then Jordan Love's past 2 years. I'm not saying it on record, but I was doing some reading today, and I saw a lot of that on the Twitter. You know, they went out, they paid Jordan Love, highest paid quarterback, and then I don't know if LaFleur was in the ear of their GM, but they go out and pay big money to a running back, not named Saquon Barkley. I don't know if I'd do that. Josh Jacobs had a great year.
100%.
Great year, but he masked a lot of problems. You take the ball out of Jordan Love's hands, you might have success. Against that Philly D-line, though, I don't know. And we saw it. What is it? 3 interceptions in the playoffs. Jordan Love, he's a little bit of a risk taker. But they paid him, so that's not too bad. They were top 5 in the league in rush yards. But when you have a top 5 or top 2 paid quarterback, the top 5 in rush yards, is that coaching? Does the coaching have a little handicap on Jordan Love, trying to keep him out of situations like that? I don't know. That's for you guys to decide. Just some of my thoughts.
I mean, when we're looking at it, as you said, he's top 2. So we have Jordan Love getting $55 million a year. We have Trevor Lawrence making $55, Burrow making $55, and Dak making $60. We're not going to be talking Cowboys in offseason this episode, but man, oh man, what is Dallas going to do this offseason with the quarterback position, with the coaching decision? I'm hearing McCarthy to Chicago, another Green Bay tie right there. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't, but
all right,
yeah.
Cooper, give us a non-biased perspective.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch this game because I turned off the TV after the Broncos lost. So I really just I sat in my bed and I stared at the ceiling and I kind of soaked it in. I was like, season's over. I didn't turn on the game. So I just saw the highlights. I'm not gonna speak of anything. I think it's like you guys were saying. It's LaFleur's a good coach. I think they're a young team. They just need to add a couple pieces. I heard they got a ton of injuries during the game, which kind of sucks just because trying to compete, you're trying to stay up, and when you have to put in a second string guy, you're not
Week
the
after
same
you play the
level.
Bears too, so
Yeah, hey, maybe
Uh,
they're getting dirty.
we broke them.
yeah. I always
Yeah.
love Packers week when it comes to the playoffs. Last 10 years, they've gone out in flames 8 of those years, and the other 2 years they didn't make the playoffs. So I always love when the Packers go out. It's my Super Bowl. It's a lot of Chicago fans Super Bowl. That's really all we have to root for is Green Bay getting their butt kicked.
It is.
But
It is.
eight out of the last 10 years, that's 8 Super Bowl victories for me. And that would put me one over Tom Brady. And that's over only 10 years. Brady took, 15, 20 years to do that? So that's pretty good for Chicago fans. I love it. I would have loved to see them maybe win a game or two and flame out in divisional or NFC championship. They've done that a couple times over the last 10. That always makes it a little bit better when the stakes are a little bit higher. But I don't have to worry about Green Bay winning a Super Bowl.
That's
And I
huge.
add one more to my trophy case.
I love it. I love it. Going, into this game again, while we do like to mess around with the Packers and all that, I will give the Eagles defense, man, they played a good game. They played a good game. Even though I know Gardner Johnson dropped a pick early on in the game, they locked him down. I mean, it just, again, Chicago might have broken them, but the Eagles definitely hit him hard. Saquon, again, he's been incredible this season. I'm not going to lie. This offseason, I didn't know if him and Henry both. I didn't know if they were washed. I did not draft any of them in any fantasy leagues, if that means anything, because I really did not know how they would succeed, especially, Philadelphia bringing a new center after we thought Jason Kelce was running the entire offense and not Hurts, but it's looking like we'll have to see what happens with them and LA next week. So,
Standard.
yeah. But
Sorry.
Cooper, did you catch the game after Commanders Buccaneers? Did you get to catch any of that?
Yeah, I saw that. That was a great game. I'm I'm not a big Jaden Daniels fan just because I want Bo Nix to win Rookie of the Year, but I know it's not gonna happen anymore. But
It should be Caleb Williams though. But yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. But I do love it when there's great QBs in the league, and
Should be
and
Brock
Jaden
Bowers.
Daniels, and Jaden Daniels is just showing that he's a superb athlete. He can withstand the pressure, like going into a hostile environment. Yeah, the Bucks were a weaker team, but I mean, still impressive. It's like rookie QBs in the playoffs are like they win 4 games out of their last 14 or something. They're like 4-10 or something. So it's super impressive what he's been doing this season. Props to him. He's like it's another story with like they're similar with the Denver Broncos. He's got one outside receiver in Scary Terry. Bo Nix has Cortland Sutton. The rest of the team not very good. Like I mean I guess he's got Austin Eckler, but like he's on the older side. He got booted out of LA, so offensive weapons for him are similar to Bo Nix. Like not a lot of talent around him, but he's making it happen. Like just making plays, like all the highlight reel stuff. And so it's super impressive. On the other side, I'm a big Baker fan. I love Baker. Cleveland did him
He's a
wrong.
dog.
Um, Carolina was a rough stint. He on Christmas Day 2 years ago, he beat my Broncos like 54-10. I'm a big Baker fan. He fired Nathaniel Hackett the next day. Let's go Baker. But yeah, that was some of the worst times to be a Bronco fan. But yeah, I love Baker. The costly fumble, that's gonna suck. That he's gonna think about that for a while. But
Oh,
and then that kicker, Commander kicker, just doinks it in. Yeah,
we know a
AJ.
thing about that, don't we, AJ?
I watched it. I was like, you can doink it in.
Man.
Come on.
Yeah,
You
just
can't make that up. You can't
I
make
saw
that up.
I saw a statistic. It was I think their last 5 games they've won all of them on the last play of the game. The Commanders have,
playing coin flip
which is
football.
insane. Like
It's been
going
that
from
kind of season for them. It's been
that kind of season. You go back to what was that? Week 7? Week 8 because we had a bye week. Week 8. Tyreek Stevenson hyping up the crowd. He tips the ball into the hands of their tight end. And I sat and looked it up my TV screen for 2 hours after that game.
Oh yeah, I think the line was 55.5. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring game. I don't really believe too much in either defense. Todd Bowles sucks at clock management, and his defense isn't very good for a defensive coach. And Washington, I think this was a big game for them just because their first win since 2006, their first or second year of Josh Harris being in and Dan Snyder being out. I mean, they're kind of like East Coast version of the Bears. They've had horrible ownership. They've been bad for forever, since like the 80s and they won Super Bowls in the 90s, but after that they've been kind of mediocre like the Bears. It's funny, both of us got the first and second pick.
Well, we had Carolina's pick, but yes.
Oh yeah. But you see Jaden Daniels. Yeah, we did have Carolina's pick. 4-13 roster. They made some changes with the new regime, but that roster is not. When you looked at the beginning of the season, their win total definitely, you didn't think 12, but ball bounces their way. Last 5 games, hell of a way to close out a season. Jaden Daniels, dangerous. He's definitely got those guys playing for him. They're doing what I thought the Bears would do this year. It's sad to think about that, but he's doing it. Dan Quinn got the guys playing. Cliff looks good. A little skeptical of his shotgun only offense, but no, I think their team's humming right now. It'll be definitely a good game to watch versus Detroit. They struggle versus quicker quarterback, I think. But Anzalone being back will be huge. But yeah, I definitely think Commanders deserved it. The doink at the end was a little salt in the wound to Chicago again. Hail Mary.
We can't escape it.
Yeah, Hail Mary, that was crushing. And then they win on a doink in, But yeah, no, they're a good team with Jaden Daniels, and they've got a lot to look forward to this offseason. I think they have a bunch of cap, and I think they've got all their draft picks other than Lattimore. Also, Lattimore and Mike Evans, that was a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, no fights.
Game grabbing or nothing. I'm put my hand up. I did fall asleep a little bit during the fourth quarter, so I missed a little bit of that the score in the end. But I woke up right before Tampa tied it, and then I saw the game-winning drive. But I'm gonna put my hand up. I missed the whole fourth down and fumble part. Caught up next morning, but I fell asleep during the game.
It's all right. Hey, honesty's huge, bro. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch up until the fourth quarter. I watched all the highlights first to third quarter, and then I watched the ending of the fourth on my phone. So, big move-in day. I was driving to school. Same. I mean, I had to watch all the games on my phone. Not while driving though. Not while driving.
Oh yeah, you were a passenger.
Yeah, passenger by myself for sure. Yeah, honestly, from what I saw and from what I've heard from Commanders fans in particularly. Man, Jaden Daniels is really running this thing, which is incredible to see as a rookie quarterback. We saw C.J. Stroud last year. Obviously, he's regressed this year, but the whole narrative coming into the season was, hey, don't expect that kind of season from a rookie quarterback. That's not going to happen every year. And not only let me not go to the extent and say these guys have played like C.J. Stroud, but I have never in my life seen a class of rookie quarterbacks where there's not like a bunch of busts or these guys can't play, da-da-da. Every single quarterback, even going to Spencer Rattler, who I do not like, he had solid plays. Like, there's not someone who I can say, oh, this first-round quarterback is terrible. He can't be a franchise guy. The only unproven one is McCarthy, but again, 10th pick in the draft, I think. Was he 10th?
Yeah.
Last year. So it's exciting times for the NFL. I do feel bad, man, for Baker and Mike Evans, all of Tampa Bay down there, especially to lose on that end around. Where that just miscommunication between the wide receiver and the quarterback just didn't click right there. So tough game. I'm I do not think they'll be able to beat the Lions, man. The Lions have looked unstoppable these past few weeks, but we'll see what happens for sure. But moving on to the Monday night game, that Vikings-Rams game, we were actually talking about this right before. Right before the game, I'm like, hey, don't count Matthew Stafford out. Don't count Matthew Stafford out. Sam Darnold can't close games. And what happened? Cooper, what happened?
Dude, Sam Darnold lost a lot of money. I don't know if it'll be like Kirk Cousins money, but he definitely lost a couple mil. That's tough for him. 9 sacks. He couldn't pull a Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow gets sacked 9 times, still beats the Titans. Sam Darnold gets sacked 9 times, can't beat the Rams. It's a tough scene out there. Kevin O'Connell's press conference definitely seemed to indicate that there will be parting of ways, and they've got their guy in McCarthy that they'll build around him. But that Rams defense, like that line looks scary. They've got some young guys. They've got a 24-year-old rookie. Oh no, he must be 40 years old. Jane Daniels, Bo Nix, 24-year-old rookie in Jared Verse. He looks like a stud. Super excited for that.
Mike. Wifey just got home.
Let's go.
Huh? The wifey just got home.
Oh, hey.
We feature you on the pod. We're talking Broncos.
But yeah, take it away.
Put my hand up.
I'm gonna have to put my hand up on this one too. I'm gonna have to put my hand up on this one too.
I fell asleep. But I watched the first half. Sam Darnold looked overwhelmed. Rams D-line, they're young. They draft well. They look good. You can't count out Stafford. Playoff Stafford's just different.
He's different. I'm gonna put my hand up too. I fall asleep during movies. Like every time I watch a movie, even TV shows. Football though, I stay awake. But I was at the gym, so I was kind of walking around watching it on the screen, and then I like walk away, come back. They're up two scores, just like that. Snap. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, man, Sam Darnold. I doubted him coming into this game just because, lack of playoff experience. He hasn't played in these big time moments. And man, like, let's go to the extreme. Does Justin Jefferson want out of Minnesota?
Bro, let's not start that. Let's not start that.
I'm gonna start a narrative. Yeah. Let me stop. But yeah, I did not watch the entire game either. I just saw bits and pieces, but enough to see that, man, the Rams, Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, never count them out. So
I will say, I don't know what the refs are doing. That intentional grounding, incomplete pass, not a fumble. That is
dirty.
It's the most dumb thing I've ever seen. You can't explain.
Can you guys run me through what happened? Because I did not see this play.
Okay, so Matthew Stafford's getting hauled down by like his shoulders. They're like the lineman's got him around like the shoulders, bringing him down head first.
Force collar?
No, he's like wrapped around his like outside of his shoulders, like bringing him down with like head down like that, and Stafford just kind of pushes the ball out and it lands like a foot away from him, and first they let the play go, like guy runs it back for a touchdown. It's defensive score. It ties the game up at 10 if it counts. They review the play. Ref comes out and says it's an incomplete pass. And they say it's not intentional grounding because I think it was 17 was in the area or something.
Puka Nacua was like 2 yards away from him, but like wasn't looking at him to throw the ball to.
Yeah, and so
but technically he was in the area.
Yeah, and I mean Stafford does push the ball, so it's a forward motion. But you can't just like get a mid-sack animation and just throw the ball away like that. What's the word? You're wanting quarterbacks to just chuck the ball away and not call intentional grounding. Now you're punishing the defense for that, and so that was sickening as if you're a viewer of the Vikings or a fan of the Vikings. Like,
I'm not gonna add on to that because I did not see it, but I will say that, man, these refs we need something to keep them accountable. Like in soccer, I know AJ. AJ calls soccer. He says it's not a real sport. I say it is a real sport. VAR review. They check offsides. They check for hands in the box. They can check anything. Everything's reviewable. I like that aspect. Even the NBA now you can challenge like fouls and all that. So I think the NFL needs to implement this into the near future because man, some of these refs need to go to the retirement home or something because it's getting bad. It's getting bad.
Full-time refs.
Huh?
We need full-time refs.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah. So what do we think about next week's games? Just as a whole right now. Like let's start Houston at Kansas City, first slate. And you were saying they get that early Saturday slate again. Houston loves that slate. What are we thinking, AJ?
I think Houston needs a big game from the defense. Again, I think it'll be low scoring. Probably like I'm gonna go maybe like 16-13 defensive game. I haven't checked the weather in Kansas City yet.
I'll get you right now. I'll get you right now.
We got
Yeah, I
meteorologists.
definitely think.
And meteorologists
I think that
right here.
it'll be. I think it'll be a tight game.
Ooh.
I think in the end,
14-degree low, 33-degree high.
14 degrees will be at night though, so like
Probably
yeah, it's
what?
during the day.
Low 30s, high 20s probably.
it's a 4 o'clock game.
Texans indoor team.
Oh,
Indoor team.
let's start a narrative.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts. I don't really. That game's not really a big draw for me. I'll watch it, but
Really?
no. I mean, I'd love to see the Chiefs lose.
No, bro. Chiefs are gonna curb stomp them in the most respectful way possible. CJ Stroud. Okay, let me put out some hot takes. CJ Stroud's gonna have a terrible game. Mahomes in the playoffs is the best quarterback in the league in the playoffs. I don't know if that's debatable. If you guys want to start a debate, we can do that too. And man, I just they're rested. I don't think Houston has no chance at this game. Zero chance. Like I don't see a world where they win this game in Kansas City divisional
I'm gonna
week.
bookmark that.
Bookmark that. And replay me. You can call me out next week all you want. You can cook me all week next week. Kansas City will not lose to Houston in Arrowhead on Saturday. Guarantee you.
Yeah, I don't think they'll lose, but I think Houston can make it a game. That defense, that pass rush, Kansas City's tackles aren't good.
Mahomes.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely compete his heart off, but like, the, I don't I don't think they run away with it like the last slate, like the blowouts from the Steelers and Texans and Bills games. I don't think they run away with. I think it could be like a 4 to 5 point game, but I do think Chiefs pull it out. Nico Collins, he's one of the X factors I have. McDuffie's not going to follow him. And McDuffie's not even that good, but you know, but like if you're thinking about like who's going to stop him, it's going to be their number one corner, and he may not be a top 10 corner in the league. So I think Nico Collins has a day. Yeah. Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter proven once again that they're a great tandem. I think they have a day on those tackles. Like I said, Casey's tackles aren't good. Nick Bonito had a day. Jonathan Cooper had a day against Mahomes. Kept the game close in the first game that the Broncos played.
Throwing the Broncos in here. I love it. Yeah.
Hey, I gotta find evidence that's my evidence for my take. But yeah,
I love it. I love it. And then, I mean, that night we have what? We have Commanders Lions in Detroit. I think I could be wrong. I think the Lions getting David Montgomery back for the playoff run. I mean, an indoor team, obviously, like, well, their fans are going to show out. Montgomery's going to he's going to run the ball deep inside. We have Jameer Gibbs take the outside runs, take the short passes. Amon-Ra, obviously, he's been a first-team All-Pro, top receiver in the league. Jameson Williams will bring you down the corner. Great tight end in Laporta. Goff's been playing well. Anzalone's back, as AJ said. Kirby Joseph, first-team All-Pro safety. Dirty Joseph, yes. But man, I don't see a world where the Lions lose this game.
what about you, AJ?
Cooper, I think Jaden Daniels is going to give him some problems. I think that his mobility will play a factor. I'm really only basing this on 2023 tape of Justin Fields running around and killing him. But Jaden Daniels is
Justin
more
Fields was the
refined.
Lions killer. The Lions killer.
I think Jaden Daniels is more refined, and I think he'll give him a game. I think it'll be Lions 31, Commanders 21. Keep it close in the first half, and then that Detroit run game will probably wear them down. But yeah, I think it'll be at least a good game, and then the Lions will pull away in the end. I think Ford Field's going to be rocking as well, and I'd love to see the Lions lose because then we can get that fast track to Ben Johnson. But I don't think they'll lose this weekend. I think he'll give them problems, but I don't think they'll lose.
Yeah, I think this
Cooper,
is going to be a great night for football. Like, offensive game is going to bring in some fans. Like, this is a game you're going to want all your eyes on. That's why it's the night game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of stops in this game. Um, Jaden Daniels is going to make defense look silly. Jared Goff's just going to have be a point guard out there, just dish to whoever. He's got Montgomery coming back. Um, it's gonna. I think it's has like the feel to be that Rams Chiefs game from a couple years ago. Um,
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn, he's kind of got that defense humming. Like the Vikings and game, he shut down their offense. It's like, oh, so much hype. Is the Lions defense back? I think it regresses a little bit. We got some some of that rest versus rust kind of thing. I think that they'll have a little bit of regression. Maybe they start out slow, let Commanders think they can stay in the game, and then it just goes from there. Um, I don't think I don't think there's gonna be very many stops. I think it's gonna be a pretty good game for fans to watch and maybe bring in some new eyes. But yeah,
So do you think how do you think that that'll go up against the next game, Sunday afternoon? We have Rams Eagles. Are we thinking like the polar opposite defensive battle, or what do we think for that, Cooper?
I think this is strength for strength where you got the Rams defensive line versus this Eagles offensive line. I think that's where it starts. Um, if Saquon can get going and really like neutralize their pass rush, it'll be a totally different ball game. I think it tilts heavily in Philadelphia's favor if that happens. Um, it'll be it'll be interesting to see how Stafford, who's not a mobile quarterback, evades Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. That those guys, fast, heavy monsters. Just I don't think he gets out of there a lot. Um, I think he'll be running for his life as much as he can. Um, yeah, I think this is a trenches battle because if you can neutralize Stafford, he's not going to use Puka or Cooper Cup. So that, and then Jalen Hurts, he's not one to sling the ball around the yard. He just does what he needs to. Like last game against the Packers, his stat line, like I'm just box score watching because I didn't watch the game, but the stat line wasn't too heavy. Just hand the ball off to Saquon and let him work. What about you?
yeah, I think that's their formula. Uh, they got to get the ball going. They got to get the run game going. Uh, don't make Jalen Hurts do too much through the air. Get AJ Brown some more targets so he's not reading on the sideline. And I think it'll really be the Rams defensive line is young. They've got Garrett Verse, Kobe Turner, Braden Fitz all drafted in the last 2 years. Uh,
Yeah, but
they're
Jerry Verse is
all
24 years old.
pretty,
He's
yeah.
an old
They
rookie.
Senior
really drafted
citizen.
him yeah. I think that if those guys come to play, they're kind of lesser known. I think if they come to play, they could make it a game. I do think Philadelphia eats out of there with a win. Uh, be interesting to see how Philly's secondary goes against the Rams wide receivers. But if their defensive line is getting to Stafford quick, then that's not really going to be much of competition. But I think Philly sneaks out of there with a win. Maybe Stafford drives down the end and game-ending sack, something like that.
I'm kind of on your side, AJ, on this one. I do think the Eagles, they're obviously favored and they're at home, cold environment. A lot of these LA players, they've been playing in the dome, in the warm environment for a long time. But I will say this, as I've said, as we talked about them earlier in this segment, man, McVay and Stafford, I will never count them out of a playoff game. They have that experience. Don't get me wrong. So does Sirianni. Hurst has been to a Super Bowl. But Matthew Stafford, he's used to the cold. He played in the NFC North for a long time, most of his career in a dome. But he played in Chicago. He'd play in Minnesota back when they were outdoors. Prior, when they were playing at the University of Minnesota for a few years, that was outside.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't know about that one. Forgot about that one, didn't you? And then
Ball Knower Liga.
It did out in Lambeau as well. So I do think the Eagles, especially with if they can rely heavily on Saquon, run some play action, get Hurts out of the pocket, get Devontae Smith rolling a little bit, and obviously get AJ Brown out of the book on the sideline. That would be big for them. But I mean, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, a pretty solid defense. But man, that Eagles interior, as Cooper was saying, and you were talking about it too, like they're mean, bro. They're mean. That's a mean defense. So I do think the Eagles pull it out, but I would not be surprised if the Rams somehow end up in the championship round. So, and off of that comes the big game that everybody's been waiting for. These have been big games as well, but Ravens in Buffalo playing the Bills. What are we thinking, Cooper? Give us initial thoughts. Here we go.
I gotta say, Twitter is gonna have a field day with this one, no matter what happens. Like, just Bills fans versus Ravens fans has been kind of some of the most intense Twitter stuff over the last couple days. It's really based over the MVP debate, but I mean, Ravens fan has been real nasty on Twitter. Bills fans have been giving it back. It it's gonna come down to like last couple seconds who can put a game-winning drive together. I do think the last time these teams played, they were both missing pieces, but I think the Bills pieces that they were missing were more impactful as they were key starters on the defense, and I think those are going to have like an impact in the run game. Like Matt Milano, he's going to be good in the run game. I think that if they can match up with Derrick Henry, they slow that down. I think it's going to be about the read key when they run that option. Who's got Lamar and who's got Henry, and can you force a no gain? Because I mean, if you even 3 yards is positive for the Ravens, you've got to get a no gain play on that because they can go 3 yards every time. Like Steelers, they ran 10 run plays in a row and just went down the field and scored a touchdown. You got to force some negative plays. Lamar doesn't throw the interception, but he does fumble, and those are where you can kind of steal some points maybe if you're that Bills defense. Yeah, I think watching Josh Allen last week as a Broncos fan, that he was unbelievable. His improvisation, incredible. Yeah, I think this is just QB headliners. You love to see it. I'd say Bills by 3, but that's just because they've got home field. I wouldn't place a bet on it. I wouldn't put my money where my mouth is. I could definitely see this being a 50-50.
AJ.
I think it'll be a close game. What I think the difference is going to be is been plaguing the Ravens all season. Their kicker.
That's big.
I think they've been able to get away with it during the regular season, but I definitely think Justin Tucker's taken a step back. And when you're playing teams like this, Ravens have blown out a lot of teams. Not a whole lot of 1-score like victories, which that's great in the regular season. and they did it against the Bills. So maybe we're here next week and they win like 35-17, and I look like an idiot. But I think it's going to be a close game, and I think Tucker's going to miss a field goal or two from, maybe not 20, 30 yards, but 45 plus. I think that's going to kick him in the end of the game. So I think it's going to be a great game to watch. I think both teams are humming right now. Ravens' run game looks great. I think it's going to be a lot on Buffalo's defensive line and outside linebackers for that read option. But yeah, I think Justin Tucker might cost him the game, and I see good value, but I think it might be cooked. I hope it's Buffalo's year.
Wow, that's man. This Raven. I mean, bro, as you said, like, who said it would be like 34-7? Oh yeah, you said AJ. It could be Justin Tucker a couple misses away or a 34-17 game. Yeah, I forgot to think about that. Me and my brother were talking about it a few weeks ago. Man, like, it just sucks to see a guy who I grew up watching. He was automatic from anywhere on the field. Justin Tucker was, I mean, one of the most accurate kickers in the history of football, not just present day. He could make it from anywhere. I mean, that was 66-yarder against Detroit 4 years ago ish. Like, incredible to see.
Yeah, something like that.
The guy had a leg, but it's just sad to see how he's really regressed, especially this season. But I'm gonna stick with Cooper on this one. I think the Bills get it. Barely. I think it's a close game, hard fought through, but it's who wins at the details. Who's gonna have less penalties, who has less errors, and who has less turnovers. And obviously that's that's obvious, but both of these teams have shown that they can overcome little things like that. But now that they're head to head, I think Josh Allen has a game. He's at home. He's got the fans on his side. But I can't count out what I saw last week against the Steelers. Like, Lamar and Derrick Henry look dangerous, man. Like, I like to start things and I like to like be a hater and all this stuff, but dude, both teams are scary. I actually just read. I wanted to see what the Zay Flowers update was, and I saw that Ian Rappaport was told Zay Flowers had an outside chance to play this weekend. No practice Wednesday does not appear to be a good sign, so he did not practice today. And while I don't want to call him the X factor of this game, but if the Bills can shut down an aspect of that run game, of what they do down there, will Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews and Isaiah likely be enough on the outside to help Lamar Jackson get this W? It's going to be a close game. The Ravens defense is obviously, they've picked it up hard. As you guys mentioned, they lost their coordinator to Seattle this year, but Roquan Smith, he was always amazing on the Bears, never got the love because he was in Chicago, but he's been playing great this year. First team All-Pro middle linebacker there. So Kyle Hamilton, again, great year. So it's gonna be a good game. Very excited to watch that for sure. I guess we have that covered. Go ahead.
One thing I will add to like AJ's point, I think kickers haven't made a 50-plus yard field goal in Buffalo in the playoffs in the last couple of years. I think that's a stat. I know Will Lutz, he tried a 50-yarder, doinked it. So then I think the announcers are saying something like it's not been made in the playoffs in a substantial amount of time. So AJ's point could ring true if they need a last-second field goal or just something like at the end of half or something. They go for like a 45-yarder and Justin Tucker doesn't hit it. But yeah.
Was that CBS? Did Romo call your guys' game?
Yeah.
Who was that? CBS? Okay.
I don't know.
Oh man, but dude, what's up with these new coaches? Like, what's going on? What's going on, AJ? Start us off. What do we think? What do we think Chicago does? What do we think of what's happening with New England? Is Tom Brady gonna talk to Ben Johnson on Saturday night? Like, what's going on? I'm hearing these reports.
Already did. I had a different Fox game for the Lions. Been confirmed. I think Lions Green Bay. He spoke with them. That's when they met. If he wants to go to the Raiders, They've got no QB. Tom Brady, yes, he is a minority owner, but he's not coming out of retirement to play for them. And what, Aiden O'Connell, maybe is that what he wants to work with?
Even if they
I
get
think it'll
Shador,
say it'll say more about our ownership if he takes the Raiders job. I think it still say more about Kevin Warren. I think Poles likes him, and I don't know about George, but I think Kevin Warren's the big domino in this. Honestly, if he doesn't go to the Bears, I think probably better off going back to Detroit. Run it back again. If they don't win the Super Bowl or something. As for New England, I think Vrabel is one of the better candidates in this cycle. I do think their hiring practices are a little interesting with the rules. They kind of found some loopholes. But yeah, I think Vrabel, and he brings in I think he'll bring in McDaniels. That'll be a good pairing for the foreseeable future. How does that coach? He made Mac Jones look good.
Yeah.
But we'll see who his coordinator hires will be. Definitely interested to see like how them continuing like their like Patriot way kind of coaches work, because I don't know if they'd want to get away from that after Belichick and Gerard Mayo. And then as for our opening, I think it's going to be one of the three of McCarthy, Ben Johnson, or Monken from Baltimore. I can see why they'd go for McCarthy because he's developed quarterback and he's won a lot of games. Clock management is a little bit of an issue, and
hey, better than Eberflus. Better than Eberflus.
yeah, exactly, and winning bigger games. Outside that 2010,
11.
2010 or 11 run. I'd say he kind of underachieved in Green Bay. They had some pretty good rosters. Yeah, I hate that I've talked myself into him a little bit, but I'd much rather see Ben Johnson. And then I don't know between Monken and McCarthy, but I hope it's one of those three. We're bringing in like 50 people, so they better get.
What do you think
right
of
guy.
Joe Brady from Buffalo?
I think he's benefited from having wizards at quarterback. LSU, he had Joe Burrow. Now he has Josh Allen. I'm just worried he could be like another Nagy situation.
Nagy's a goat, dude.
But you
he
never
made
know.
Mahomes.
I could be wrong. But yeah, that's kind of my take there.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see about McCarthy, especially I have a lot of Cowboy fans, friends of mine who are Cowboy fans, and they're out here trolling, sending me texts like, bro, like you guys are cooked. And I do think his tenure in Dallas definitely wasn't what they expected, but at the end of the day, when you have Jerry Jones running your team, you're gonna be in trouble at different aspects, and that team might be more of a mess than Chicago at this point with the way Jerry Jones is running that. Hey, with the way Jerry Jones is running it now, I'm not talking about the past, I'm talking about right now. He's not paying Micah Parsons. They didn't sign Derrick Henry, and don't get me wrong, they've had some good hits. CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, like they have that in their game, but it's just tough to see right now, for sure. I have talked myself into McCarthy a little bit, but at the end of the day, the grand prize is Ben Johnson. That whole thing that happened with Caleb Williams this past weekend, where he got tricked on text message that, oh, this is Ben, like we hired you. I was listening to the podcast earlier today with the Amon-Ra brothers, and that was a little funny story. So, I've been through 5 coaches, I think, now as a Bears fan, and they've all been, other than Lovey, they've all been pretty bad. So I'm really hoping that we can. Yeah, I don't know. My hopes are high, but I'm hoping we can hit on this one.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Eberflus earlier, he had a interview with Cincinnati. Did you hear about that? Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati made a mistake. Hiring their DC. I know he's getting head coaching looks a couple of years ago, and I know that I think he's going to be a DC very quickly again this hiring cycle. I just think it's more of a talent issue on their team. They have Trey Hendrickson, and Sam Hubbard. I don't know if Sam Hubbard was hurt this year, but their back end got torched. So Eberflus, I think, would be a decent DC. Don't put him in charge of clock management. I don't know how good Zach Taylor is at that, but I definitely think this is kind of a move for Zach Taylor to like save his job. Even though I think the issue is more talent versus the X's and O's for Anarumo.
But I will say for sure, Eberflus impressed me with his defense at times, especially seeing him leaving the team. I was with, I think Eric Washington came in as, is that his name? Who came as run the defense? It just wasn't the same, man. Like, don't get me wrong, that Green Bay game, we had the juice, all that, but Flus knew what he was doing on defense. I think he's a great defensive coordinator. I think in Indianapolis, he got some of the blame when he was a scapegoat right before. Okay, I'm not going to go deep into this, but I heard, man, Twitter be talking about a bunch of crazy stuff. It was like the Bears hired Eberflus, but if they wouldn't have hired him, he would have been fired because he was the scapegoat in India, whatever that was. But I think he's a good defensive coordinator. I just don't think he's head coaching material, and I think we saw that throughout Chicago in his 3 years there. Also, another offseason move here. Tennessee needs a GM. They interviewed Ian Cunningham, AJ. That means 2 third-round comp picks. But do you want to keep Cunningham so you can take care of Poles and not trade up for a Dunze like what almost happened? Or are you okay with him leaving?
I think I'll take the picks and bring in an assistant GM of Ben Johnson's choosing.
Interesting take. Cooper, what do we think about this? I know you guys are set. For one time, like, you guys are good. I don't think Sean Payton's all good over there. He's got his squad. But what do you think of the outside noise?
It's kind of crazy looking back, just like the instability we've had since the Super Bowl, and Sean Payton's cleared that up. He's definitely not perfect, but he's changed things for the better here. Just going back, Patriots, Vrabel linked even before Mayo was fired. It's just like Mayo's been doing bad. Like, just we need someone else in here. Vrabel's been linked there, so that was obvious. And like AJ was mentioning, they're kind of getting their Rooney Rule out of the way, and then boom. I do think now that we have that domino out of the way, coaches are going to start to fall, and the only complication was the Raiders and Ben Johnson, and all that's coming out of that camp is, hey, Tom Brady likes him. Raiders had a good interview. There's a lot of steam. Like, the betting markets are catching up. I think that's. I don't think the Raiders is the worst job, but it's not the best. But I do, like AJ said, it's an indictment of Bears ownership if Ben Johnson takes the Raiders gig, because he's going to delay a year on quarterback, but he'll have his GM. He'll get to, like, I think they got a spy tech coming in to interview. I forgot his first name. But yeah, so
yeah,
he'll get his pick of GM. He'll get his pick of QB in the later years. Tom Brady's going to probably hand him the keys. I think that's interesting. I think McCarthy throws a wrench in things when you're looking at, like, oh, if Ben Johnson doesn't go to the Bears, it's like, oh, do we get McCarthy just to hire somebody? Like, how do you solve that? Do you go Aaron Glenn just to, like, get somebody that's up and coming? Of course, that you look at the Caleb Williams angle. It's like, if you get a defensive guy, how is he going to develop? And so you guys have been through that with Fields and all that with Eberflus, so can't have that. And then if Ben Johnson doesn't go to the Raiders, Pete Carroll's looking good in that spot. I think he's set to interview. I don't know if he's interviewed yet, but big connections there.
He has.
Okay, yeah. So
we do not want Pete Carroll. Me and AJ do not want Pete Carroll.
And I think the Jaguars have royally messed up. Trent Baalke's got to go, and
Yeah.
they lost their chance at having a career year with Trevor Lawrence and Ben Johnson. That could have been something to watch. Shad Khan must be blackmailed into the I don't know, but yeah, he's Trent Baalke's just a genius down there, I guess, to keep his job. But yeah, and then Dion, he hits the reports with like, oh, he's linked to Dallas because McCarthy's out. Jerry Jones probably sends him a bag. His Dion's buyout's only 8 million. That's chump change. Yeah, that's very interesting to watch. I do think Dion will stay in Colorado, but hey, if Dion talk or if Jerry talks, Dion's gonna follow, and I think that'll happen.
Yeah.
I think you add Shador into that. You promise picking Shador first round. I think he heavily considers that for
Yeah,
sure.
and that's kind of unfortunate for Shador because he's only been around his father as a coach. So like, how is he really doing? Like, that's a lot of attention, stuff like that. So that's we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, as far as Matt Eberflus goes, I do think the Lou Anarumo firing was it's just someone to put the blame on, like AJ was saying. I can't I can't see that defense getting better under Eberflus with the current talent. I, I couldn't see it getting any worse. I mean, it's pretty much as bad as you can get. It couldn't stop a nosebleed type defense. Um, but yeah, I think it's very interesting to watch. I think it's it's interesting. Cincinnati fans have kind of gotten on my nerves over Twitter just because they've been like, oh, shoulda, woulda, coulda, and it's seeing them. It
Yeah.
suffers.
Don't start 0-4 every year.
Yeah, it's not it's not something I'm like pouting about, but yeah, it's very interesting to watch. I don't know who they'll interview else with as far as if Matt Eberflus the only guy they want, but yeah,
Allah.
Going back because you mentioned Aaron Glenn from Detroit. I was on Twitter or Instagram. I don't remember where I saw it. He's heavily linked to New York right now, to the Jets. He played there as a player, I guess, when he was in the league. To some of these jobs, I don't know, man. Like
There's only
you have
32
to.
of them, so
There is, but it's like you need to you don't get this chance twice. It's rare that you get if you're not a good head coach on your first to your first experience, you're probably not getting picked again. Same as GM, unless you slowly build your way back up. I'm hearing Matt Nagy maybe to New Orleans, but like look what he had to do. He was in Chicago, took the team to the playoffs, collapsed, 2 more years of collapse, went back as QB coach, offensive coordinator, but is someone willing to take a chance on him? And quick little side note, this is from from what me and AJ saw, or I'm not speaking for AJ, but I don't I don't consider Thomas Brown, who was our interim, I don't consider him a candidate because I don't think I'm not sure if he can run this team. If
you
I'm
don't
completely
never
honest,
hire
I
the
just think
interim.
yeah,
yeah,
it's
I don't,
tough,
yeah.
but it's tough. It's tough because we saw it in Las Vegas. We've seen it before with who did Las Vegas do it twice?
Sacha, they didn't hire him, and then they tried to
Oh, okay,
correct
you're
their
right.
wrong and hired
You're right.
Antonio Pierce.
But I do think he kept the team together after what could have been a big collapse in Chicago. I think the players fell back on him. They
What do you
loved
mean
him.
he went 0 and
I'm
10?
just
Big
happy he went in.
collapse. It happened.
I'm just happy. I'm just happy he went in and took this team and beat Green Bay. That's what I have to say.
He's 1-0.
I'm just glad he did that. He's 1-0 in
liked him.
2025.
I liked him at the microphone.
And I do think, yeah, I did too. I liked him at the microphone, and I think he's a good offensive coordinator. I mean, Sean McVay's guy, assistant head coach in Los Angeles for however long he was there for. So I think he has potential on the opposite side of the ball.
It's not his time yet.
Yeah.
I think he'll go back to LA, spend a year or two with McVay. Maybe he'll pop up and be their OC, something like that.
Take an offensive role. I mean, great when Caleb was playing. I almost got sent back a year. When Caleb was playing under him as his offensive coordinator, he was looking good. And they didn't have that relationship built to. I mean, Caleb mentioned they didn't even talk prior to him becoming OC, except for a couple interactions. So it was cool to see that for sure.
He's a QB.
Wait, so what is? We were talking, right? And these guys mentioned ATS.
Yeah.
And it was over text. It was over text, and if you would have spelled the words out, I would have known what it was. What does ATS mean, guys? So we can refresh the audience.
Yeah. So Mike, we were texting. And Cooper said something about the Broncos being whatever the record was, ATS. And I knew exactly what that means. Cooper knows what it means. And Mike said, "What's ATS?" And we're over here talking about this podcast, and Mike's trying to make like a little betting segment, and he says, "What's ATS? Come on, against the spread." Basically covering the margin that's set by the books.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can't be a gambler segment and have not the knowledge to know what ATS means. How can we have a gambling segment if you don't know what ATS means?
So, weekly Liga's Ladder will have a group incorporation, but we have a plus 100 for this week. I am not guaranteeing anything. Do not put your college tuition on this, please. I'm not liable for anything. Liable. We are not financially liable. This could go over four little legs, and they kind of correlate over to what we talked about. Honestly, we all kind of, I think, have the same viewpoints, even though not as confident in some. First leg, Chiefs to beat the Texans. That's all we need. We need Kansas City to take care of their job. If that misses on that, I said you guys can cook me all you want next week on the pod. I got no problem with that. Kansas to beat Houston. I think that's a lock. Then we have, I think, again, Commanders might be able to keep it close, but I think Lions run. I think Lions win the game. Just straight W. Nothing with player props, nothing. We're just going straight game-wise. And then next one, Rams to cover plus 17.5. As we said, we think the Eagles can edge this one out 100%. It could keep it close, but I don't think the Rams, after doing what they did to Minnesota, come in and lose by 20 to this team. I don't think it happens. Give me LA. 18. Yeah, they lose by 18. Give me Rams plus 17.5. And the last one is I have Ravens Bills at over 40.5. The game line is set at 51.5. I think in the first half it has a potential to go over 40 points.
Ooh. Okay.
Maybe. But I think in 4 quarters these two electrifying teams will 100% go. Oh no. These teams will 99% go over 40.5.
Bro, you can't guarantee it, bro. We're not liable.
It ends. The game ends like 10-7. So we're not hoping for one of those. Would you guys like to talk about the Barcelona-Real Madrid game that happened last Sunday?
No.
Do you even know what happened, AJ?
No, I have no idea.
Cooper, do you know?
No.
Okay, I'll make a quick little 5-second segment because it's not a real sport according to AJ. Real Madrid, Mbappe, beautiful goal in like the first few minutes. He had a great game. The rest of the team, insanely sold.
I'm cutting this.
So. Oh, really? And then Barcelona scored 5 goals, 5-2, whatever it was. I don't remember. You're actually cutting that?
No. Keep going.
Oh, okay, my bad. Oh, that's all we had for that. The NBA is a cooked product, it seems like. I'm not sure what happened over there. LeBron is almost out, and when Curry and him go out, KD, I'm just trying to talk all things sports. Hockey.
Oh no, we'll get on out of here, guys. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe.
This cut me off.
FTA this thing.
Previews later.
Hey, we'll catch you guys. We'll catch you guys next week, right? Right, guys? We'll be back.
Oh
here.
Yeah. Comment FTA for the algorithm. Leave a like. Subscribe. We'll see you.